I used to hate worship band sound checks. I never knew what to play, and it was super intimidating having all these experienced musicians listening to just me. But eventually I made a key discovery that turned soundcheck from a point of anxiety into something that I never need to think twice about. In this video, we'll talk about how you should approach soundcheck as a classical musician, and you'll walk away knowing exactly what to play every single time. My name's Matt, and if you're new to the worship violin community, welcome. We are so glad you're here. This channel is dedicated to creating resources for classical musicians who want to learn to play their instrument in a worship band setting and ultimately learn how to worship in alignment with the Holy Spirit. If that's you, make sure you check out the other videos here on this channel. We have a ton of great content for you. For now though, we are going to talk about the reason you came here to this video, which is worship band soundcheck. First, let's answer the question, what is a soundcheck? If you've never played in a band setting before, you've probably never experienced a sound check in the sense that we're talking about today. In orchestras I've been in, we'd sometimes do what we called sound checks, but it was more like a mini rehearsal that we'd do before a concert just to kind of get used to the space that we're playing in, as well as check some spots in different pieces. The kind of sound check we're talking about today is similar, but different. Basically, the purpose of a worship band sound check is to test the individual audio levels of each instrument or vocalist. This is super important in a worship band because typically all instruments have some kind of amplification. So sound check allows the sound person to adjust audio levels so that the band can be more balanced as a whole. In my experience, sound check typically happens right at the beginning of rehearsal. The sound person will ask each musician to play or sing one by one until they're satisfied with that person's level. Most musicians will play or sing a part from the upcoming worship set. So for example, a vocalist would sing part of a song that they're leading on. An electric guitar player might play an instrumental lead line that they have, and a piano player might play chords from one of the songs. But in some cases, you might see musicians play something totally different from what they'll be playing for worship, and more on that in a minute. But generally, you get the idea of what soundcheck looks like, at least for an instrument typically found in worship. For us classical musicians, it's a little bit different. And the main reason for this is that we typically don't have an actual part. Most worship songs don't have a violin part, or a flute part, or a trombone part, or a trumpet part. They usually just have piano, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, drums, and bass. So when it comes time for soundcheck, we can't play a part of a song from the worship set because we don't have a part. And that's what used to be super intimidating for me until I made the big discovery, which we're gonna get to soon. But it was intimidating for me because I felt like all the other musicians were kind of judging what I was playing. And for that reason, I had to come up with some creative or impressive solo to play just for soundcheck. Honestly, it sounds kind of silly to say out loud, but that's just the way it was. And that's actually the perfect segue into what not to do for soundcheck. And the first thing not to do for soundcheck is to play something flashy just to try to impress other musicians. So picture an electric guitarist playing a big solo from a rock song, or a bassist playing a complex funk groove, or a pianist playing Rachmaninoff. It would be like me playing Paganini or Sarasate or any other classical solo. I know a few musicians who do this kind of stuff, and I would encourage you not to be one of them. No one's going to be impressed, and it sets a bad tone for making worship seem like it's all about you, which it isn't. On a similar note, the second thing not to do for soundcheck is to play something out of character from what you'll actually be playing during the worship set. For example, if I play a fast fiddle tune for soundcheck, but then during worship I'm mostly playing long sustained notes, the sound person's gonna have the totally wrong level for what I'm playing, and that can be a big problem. Instead, play something similar in character, dynamics, and range to what you'll actually be playing during the worship set. And that brings us nicely to the part of the video that I am most excited about, what you should play for soundcheck. I'm going to give you 2 recommendations here. The first is if you have a solo in the worship set, play that solo for soundcheck. At churches I've played at, I've frequently been asked to play instrumental introductions or solos to different songs, and I always make sure that I play those solos during soundcheck so the sound person can get the correct level set. So if you have a solo in one of the songs, make sure you play that in soundcheck. If the solo is too short and the sound person needs to hear more of your instrument, you can either repeat the solo a few times, or you can move on to my second recommendation for what to play during soundcheck. And this recommendation is the key discovery that turned soundcheck from a point of anxiety into something I never need to think twice about. And that discovery and my recommendation for what you should play for soundcheck is this: a scale. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A scale? Seriously? To that I say, yes, seriously. And I'll tell you why and give you a demonstration. A scale is the perfect thing to play for soundcheck because A, it's practical, and B, it aligns with our heart posture towards worship. So first, regarding practicality. The beautiful thing about a scale is that it can be very similar in character to what we are actually going to play for worship. You can play a fast scale if you're going to be playing a lot of fast notes, or you can play a slower scale if you're going to be playing more sustained notes. A scale also allows you to play a large range of notes, which is really helpful for the sound person because how they determine the level of your instrument may vary for low notes versus high notes. For me, with my instrument and playing style, I always play a 2-octave G major scale. Sometimes I extend it a few notes higher, but that's just because I do play up into 3rd position on the E string when I'm actually playing in worship. But I don't usually go any higher than that in an actual worship song, so there's no reason for me to play higher notes during soundcheck. I also like to play a lot of sustained notes during worship, so I tend to play my soundcheck scale pretty slowly. Here's what it sounds like with a few extra notes at the top of the scale. Or here's what it could sound like a little bit faster. And of course, if you play an instrument other than violin, you'll have to experiment with what scale makes most sense for you. And the second reason why a scale is the perfect thing to play for soundcheck is that it aligns with the heart behind our worship posture. Scale isn't flashy, it isn't outwardly impressive, it doesn't seek the attention or approval of others. And doesn't that sound a bit like the heart of Jesus? Plus, in playing something so simple and unassuming for soundcheck, we're effectively taking the attention off ourselves and hopefully allowing ourselves and others to put our attention towards the true purpose of worship, which is to glorify and connect with God. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we all really want. If you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe and check out the other content on this channel. We have tons of great resources for you. And next time you have a worship band sound check, I hope you remember all the things you learned today. May it all serve you well and bring both you and others closer to God. Thanks for watching.